My name is David Pluckbaum. I'm the moderator for the virtual presentation related to INDOT's US 36 Modern Rockville Road public hearing. Today, we're going to provide a presentation that is associated with the project, and we're going to tell you how the environmental process, which was followed, is incorporated in the decision-making of the preferred alternative, which will be made today. The project is located on US 36 Rockville Road, and it runs from Raceway Road west to basically 465 on the east. In the past, we've had a number of opportunities to have public involvement. The project was launched in 2019, and there was a lot of stakeholder outreach in 2020. Obviously, the pandemic provided a lot of challenges, but we got a lot of input from people along the corridor that live in the area, work in the area, and drive through the area. And in 2021, there were comment forms that were provided, and there were stakeholder meetings in 2021 as well as 22. And in 22, there was also a public involvement meeting. So today, we have the public hearing. The public hearing is the last portion of the environmental process. And the environmental process for this project follows the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, as it's referred to. And in this case, we did a categorical exclusion, which documents the human as well as the natural environment impacts and input related to the project. It includes discussions related to public involvement, as well as natural activities out there, wetlands, streams, threatened and endangered species, Section 106, which is associated with historic properties, but also the right-of-way that might need to be acquired for a project, noise, hazardous materials, as well as many other activities. The purpose for the project, it's very important because the purpose and the need, which is the next slide, define what is needed on the corridor and then how we're going to resolve that. So in this case, the purpose is to increase safety and the traffic operation along the corridor. And then we also want to modernize the infrastructure, but we also want to provide a facility that'll accommodate ADA standards for pedestrians. The need is based on the high crash history related to the project, forecasted congestion that's only going to get worse, and the delays associated with the congestion, but also deterioration of a Shiloh Creek culvert and the lack of pedestrian accommodations along the corridor. The level of service is a measure of how well intersections work. Just like in grade school or in high school, an A is the best, and as you go down the alphabet, it gets worse and worse. So the D's and the C's are less desirable, obviously, than the A and B. And the D's and the E's are really undesirable. And you can see in this case, in 2025, which will be basically the design year, it's not horrible out there. But in 2045 in the mornings, you can see that Bridgeport, Girls School Road, as well as high school roads will not operate efficiently unless an improvement's made. Here we show the PM or the afternoon rush hour, and you can see that currently the traffic out there and congestion at Country Club, Girls School, and High School Road are inadequate, and it's only going to get worse in the future. This chart is a measurement of safety and crashes that are out there. They're indexes that INDOT uses and the engineering folks that assess intersections. And the numbers are important to the engineers, but for us tonight, anything above a 1 are really areas that need attention. And as you can see on this chart, and there's intersections as well as the segments of road between the intersections, there's a lot of values that exceed the value of 1. And in particular, the Girls School Road intersection, that being in the 4 range and in both the frequency of crashes and the cost associated with crashes really need attention. This is a graphic that basically shows in color those values that were shown before. And again, Girls School Road, which is close to the middle there, has a lot more red and yellow to it, meaning that the crash history there is a lot higher than the areas between the intersections, but the intersections themselves also show higher than normal crash history. This is the Shiloh Creek culvert that I'd mentioned, and it's a pipe that's older. It needs attention. It needs to be replaced. And so as part of this project, the pipe will be replaced while NDOT's out there doing the work. We did have a lot of public involvement on this project, and we thank everybody for those that participated and those that'll be participating during this public hearing process. And in the past, we had over 1,900 customer surveys responses that we received. And those responses showed that there was a strong interest in increasing the capacity of the roadway versus just doing nothing. And also a strong interest in improving the pedestrian accessibility along the corridor. And now, obviously, the maintenance, pavement maintenance, street lighting, and other safety items along the corridor, there was a strong interest in having those improved also. And samples of what we did hear out there. We did hear that people wanted to improve the signals and the timing of them such that that capacity at those intersections could be improved. Some folks recommended doing a project that was very similar to US 31 or Keystone Parkway in Carmel, where we'd have roundabouts and interchanges through the corridor. It'd be very disruptive, but it would move traffic. Some folks wanted us to improve the parallel streets that are north and south of Rockville Road. And that way those streets could be improved, and thus Rockville Road would not need to be improved. And then some folks wanted us to limit the places and locations and such that you can turn from traffic. And also very important, they wanted to perpetuate the opportunity for the Indy Blue Line to be able to run through the corridor. So with all the public input that we got and the engineering analysis and such, we came up with 3 alternatives for this corridor. First alternative is do nothing, basically leave it as is. The second alternative would be displace lefts, which is a design that would improve the intersections and really do very little to the sections of roadway between the intersections. And then the third alternative is the added travel lane option, which is the preferred option. In the do nothing alternative, NDOT would continue to maintain the roadway, the pavement, the bridges, and traffic congestion would continue to get worse. The crashes would continue to occur and likely get worse. There wouldn't be any drainage improvements through the corridor, and the pedestrian access would not be improved. So the second alternative is the displaced left turn alternative, which is basically to improve the intersections at the major intersections. But it did reduce crashes by 24%, which is positive compared to the do nothing alternatives. But again, the improvements would be to the intersections themselves, and there would be very little, if anything, done in the 2-lane sections, or 4-lane sections, I should say, that are between the intersections. Alternate number 3 is the added travel lanes option. And on the screen, you can see 2 options, or the existing on the left, which is 2 lanes in each direction, and a continuous left turn lane in the middle. And there is shoulder on the outside. And then also the added travel lanes, which is what we prefer, to the right. And we believe that the added travel lane option with 3 lanes in each direction, it will improve safety. It will reduce congestion. The existing section that has continuous left is not preferred when you have traffic volumes over 25,000, which this does. The preferred alternative has a median that has some left turn breaks in it at intersections. And the project engineer, Julie Thurman, will describe that here in just a moment. But this will improve some drainage also because it'll be curb and gutter. But as mentioned, it will reduce crashes. And the crashes being reduced here is about 38%, which the previous option of improving the intersections only was 24%. So again, this option exceeds what the previous option did, and obviously the do nothing alternative. When we look at levels of service that's projected, here on this slide, we show the 2045 AM level of service, the letters associated with that, which we showed earlier. But we show how much this option, the added travel lane option, improves traffic capacity running through these intersections, not only when the project opens in 2025, but also down the road in 2045. The PM is a similar situation in that in the afternoons, not only currently, but in the future, the do nothing alternative really shows that traffic will have a hard time moving through the corridor, and that with the added travel lane option, 3 lanes in each direction, that it's greatly improved at each intersection. Now I want to turn it over to Julie Thurman. She's a professional engineer in charge of this project.
Yes, I'm going to talk about some of the modernizations to the existing infrastructure. What we'll be doing is doing some updates to the existing traffic signals. We'll be replacing all those. We'll be introducing crosswalks for pedestrians as we have the path and the sidewalk that's getting added to the project as well. There'll also be some bridge improvements to the structure to widen that structure and provide a new surface layer on that. And also looking at replacement of the culvert at Shiloh Creek. In addition to that, we've got several other drainage improvements we'll be doing throughout the project. We've heard your concerns about the drainage throughout the project, and we are coordinating with several of the local projects with DPW. They have some projects going on, and also the NDOT project that was just finished at High School Road with the turn lane project had some drainage improvements associated with that as well. So we've coordinated with them, and we're working through that so that our design meshes with that, and we'll take that water that's coming off of the roadway. So as you can see, we're putting in a curb and gutter section now versus what's out there with an existing open shoulder and open drainage ditch. So you can see on that top section that half of the roadway is going all the way over, all the drainage is draining over into that open ditch and then flowing, down to the drainage outlets. Whereas what we're proposing is to collect all the drainage from both the roadway surface and the trail and the sidewalk to get collected into those inlets in the curb and gutter, and they will be then outletted and contained in a storm sewer system. So that should keep a lot of that water that was coming potentially onto private properties into the NDOT right-of-way. So the typical section that we're looking at for this, as Dave mentioned before, is 3 lanes in each direction. So this kind of shows you just a section up top with just the 3 lanes with the path on one side and the sidewalk on the other. And then we also are adding turn lanes, both left and right turn lanes where necessary. And we've looked at those based on traffic counts, and we've added those turn lanes where we see the need for adding those. So like you can see in the bottom section, we've got that capacity with that wider median up top to utilize that area for those turn lanes. Another big part of this project is trying to fit this within the existing footprint of what's out there. So we're really doing our best to minimize all right-of-way within the project. So we've got what we call temporary right-of-way and permanent right-of-way. So this is an example of the temporary right-of-way where we're basically, you can see from the red line, which is the existing right-of-way on the project, the Orange is the temporary right-of-way. And most of these locations where we're taking temporary right-of-way, we're doing that for drive construction. So there may be a slope that's needed to meet the actual criteria that we are held to perform within, and making sure that that drive fits within those grade criteria. And so this is just area and space needed for construction of that drive. So we have 32 parcels that we're buying temporary right-of-way from. And as you look at the maps that are out in the other room, that you'll be able to see where those temporary locations of right-of-way are being proposed at this point. And then regarding permanent right-of-way, there are only 5 locations that we're really taking any permanent right-of-way, and it's very small. We're taking a total of 0.207 acres for the whole entire project throughout the 3 miles. So that's pretty minimal right-of-way to get an additional lane in each direction within the footprint. But what you can see, and I've got examples of each of these 5 locations, most of this right-of-way is being acquired where we're adding turn lanes, and there wasn't room for that turn lane before. So this location at Coronado, obviously we're adding a turn lane and the path. Then at 6B, again, we've got a turn lane there that's being added so that we can provide some storage there as the buses turn into the school. The next one is as you're approaching High School Road, and it's just a little sliver on the south side of that commercial property. And this is in the area where they just added that turn lane. But in order to get the sidewalk in that area, we needed to purchase a little bit of right-of-way there. And then the final 2 locations, you can see High School Road on the right here, the north side of High School Road. We've basically got some drainage improvements that are necessitating that right-of-way there by the gas station on that corner. And then the last one is on the south side in front of Bob Evans and that adjacent property. So we're adding a right turn lane there. So you've got both a right turn and left turn lane to improve the intersection at High School Road. Moving into the maintenance of traffic as far as how the project will be constructed. Throughout the whole construction, we will be maintaining 2 lanes of traffic in each direction. We've got basically 3 major phases that we'll be doing, pretty much shifting the traffic all over to the left side and running traffic there while we construct on the right side, which then we'll switch to pushing traffic out and working in the median area. And then the final phase will be doing that right side of traffic. All the while we'll be maintaining drives and access to all of your current amenities, including trash pickup, mail service. So that will all be maintained while construction is ongoing. On the timeline for the project status, right now we're obviously in that design and public outreach phase, which is in 2023. So we're as we conclude this phase with the public hearing, we will be finalizing the environmental document and refining our design based on comments we receive from the public. And we're looking at a letting date in late 2024 with earliest date of construction starting in either late 2024 or potentially early 2025.
Thanks, Julie. As we approach the end of the presentation, we want to encourage people to provide public comment if they desire to. And the public comment is the culmination of the environmental document, and the statements that you have to make to us, the comments, you can either make them on paper, mail them to the address provided, or you can provide them online or via email. And we'll provide information here to show you how to do that. But the comments will become part of the environmental document. And if there are questions as part of the comments, we'll address those questions in the environmental document itself. The video presentation and the public hearing graphics will be available on the project website, modernrockville.com. Or you can also view the categorical exclusion, which is the environmental document. It's available at the Wayne Township Public Library, as well as NDOT's Greenfield and Crawfordsville district offices. Here's an example of the comment form. And you can download that from the project website. Obviously, you're going to provide your name and address and such. And the form doesn't show it here on the screen, but there is area on the sheet for you to provide written comments related to the project. We encourage you to stay in touch with the project. Information is always available on our project website, which is modernrockville.com, but you can also view information from our social media sites. Thank you for your attention.